Look at the farm.
Guys, we're ready to go live. Give us 3, 2, 1.
Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Oh, 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 yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Oh, 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 yai, dai, da, dai, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai. Yai, dai, da, dai, dai, dai. Yai, dai, yai, dai, dai.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Welcome to everyone. We are so blessed with such a large extended family here joining us this morning. We are blessed with so many of you joining us virtually. We welcome all of you as we celebrate with Simon and his family as he becomes bar mitzvah on this day. He has worked so incredibly hard to reach this moment. This morning we will sing and rejoice with him. We'll celebrate as he attains this moment of becoming bar mitzvah in our tradition, the sacred rite of passage, as he joins as part of an unbroken link in the chain of our Jewish tradition. But in truth, it's incumbent upon all of us to lift him up as he becomes of service to us in the Jewish community and beyond these walls. It's also important that we heed the call to participate and celebrate as much as we can by lifting the words off the prayer book pages, by living them through our voices and through our hearts. This morning, those of you who are gathered with us physically, you will have prayer books and you can follow along. Those of us who are joining us virtually, on your screen, you will be able to follow along as well, as all the prayers, our Torah and Haftarah sections this morning will be visible to you as well. We want you to be part of this experience, whether you are in our virtual community or physically here. You're all part of one big Beth Israel family this morning. And we say the words, Ma tovu ohalecha Yaakov, how lovely are your tents, O Jacob, your dwelling places, O Israel, as we join together.
משכנותיך ישראל, מה טובו אוהליך
You may have seen all of us here and many people on the courtyard wearing a prayer shawl. We call it a talit. This prayer shawl is important to us, not because of how it looks or the colors or the shape, but rather the fringes. And these fringes that we have that are tied in knots and wrapped number 613, and they remind us of the mitzvot, the commandments that we are required to do. And we try every day to do as many as humanly possible, and we celebrate our tradition. Today, Simon is able to receive a talit as an adult in our community, and he will be able to wear it from now on when he leads us in prayer or when he reads Torah and when he comes to services to share in our community. So we want to invite Kate and John to come up to present him with his talit.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu v'chetetef b'tzitzit.
Amen.
Simon, wow. I can't believe I'm standing up here today as you become a bar mitzvah. It seems like only yesterday, Daddy and I were bringing you home from the hospital, and I was trying to juggle parenting a toddler and caring for a newborn. As you know, standing here at Beth Israel has an enduring and meaningful history in our family. You follow in the 4-generation tradition of your great-grandfather, grandfather, great-uncles, mother, aunt, cousins, and brother of having a bar mitzvah at Beth Israel. I could not be more proud of you today. Later in your service, you will speak to us about the importance of sacrifice. Simon, in your life, I have seen you having to make choices that might not seem like sacrifices at the time, but in the end, they contribute to making you a stronger student and a more thoughtful human being. You've had to miss Saturday morning activities and give up weekday sports because of school and temple. I noted at the time these choices have not always been easy and have sometimes left you frustrated. But I promise you that these sacrifices will make you a stronger person in the long run. I already see growth and maturity in your commitment to whatever you take on. Simon, you have repeatedly impressed me with how much effort and dedication you have shown in preparing for today. Although playing soccer, surfing, shooting hoops, talking to friends on the phone, or playing chess may beckon you, you attend to the task on hand. There are so many appropriate adjectives that apply to you: witty, playful, kind, caring, loving, patient with others, smart, and hardworking. You worked independently to get ready for today, and Daddy and I could not be more proud to watch you prepare along the way. We know that today was not what you envisioned as you originally planned your bar mitzvah, but you have taken this year in stride and have not once complained that you did the work without the party. Well, maybe you complained once. This confirms that you really have matured and become a man. We are just so lucky to be your parents. You are funny, with strong opinions, but still fun-loving, athletic, inquisitive, definitely original. You always bring that extra spark to our lives. Since you were a little boy, you've had this uncanny ability to connect with anyone you meet. Your charming personality and confidence attracts people to you. You make friends with young and old wherever you go. I've always been so proud of your connection to kids of all ages. Your mentoring of younger kids is remarkable. I am so proud of all the hard work you put in to making today so special. Shabbat Shalom, and I love you.
Simon, for me to tell you how proud I am of all that you've accomplished this year would not begin to do justice of all your achievements. You might not know it, or better yet, want to hear it, but you and I are very similar in many ways, so I do understand a lot of the challenges and obstacles you encounter. But we're also very different, and you're building your own path in this life, and I'll tell you that the journey is very valuable, and the perseverance and the persistence that you have showed during this process has showed me that you can achieve anything that you set your mind to. My blessing for you is, as you continue this journey, is to believe in your talents and abilities. Focus your energy in productive and meaningful ways, and don't be afraid to take risks, and don't wait for miracles to come knocking on your door. Better yet, harness all the energy that shines so bright inside of you, and take advantage of all the opportunities that will open themselves up to you, and elevate yourselves to places that most people can only dream of. So Shabbat Shalom, love you.
We pray responsively blessings for our daily miracles on page 80. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan l'sevivina l'franchin ben yom u'ben layla.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam pokeach ivrim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam atzir asurim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam zokef kefufim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam rekar haaretz al hamayim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamechin mitzadei gaver.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam malbish aromim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hanoten le'ayif koach.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam b'vir shanai b'nai nemai mafapai.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani b'tzelem Elohim.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shalasani ben chorin.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shasani Yisrael.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam Osir Israel b'gvura.
Amen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam oter Yisrael b'tifara.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah.
O Adonai, our God, let the words of Torah be sweet in our mouths, and let the mouths of your people Israel, so that we, our descendants, and the descendants of all your people Israel, may know you by studying your Torah for its own sake. Blessed are you, Adonai, who teaches Torah to your people Israel.
Baruch atah Adonai hamlamed Torah la'amo Yisrael.
There are 8 degrees in giving the tzedakah, each one higher than the other. To give grudgingly, reluctantly, or with regrets. To give less than one should, but with grace. To give what one should, but only after being asked. To give before one is asked. To give without knowing who will receive it, although the recipient knows the identity of the giver. To give without making known one's identity. To give so that neither giver or receiver knows the identity of the other. To help another to become self-supporting by means of a gift, a loan, or by finding employment for one in need. Please turn to page 95. With this do I prepare myself, to thank, praise, and glorify my Creator. Blessed are you, Sovereigner of life, whom we praise with songs of glory.
Baruch atah Adonai, melech mehulal batishbachot.
Please join us in singing Psalm 150 on page 100.
Hallelujah, 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 Bikocho, hallelujah, Birkiauzo, hallelujah, Bingurota. Hallelujah, Kerogulo. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah. We take a Shabbat. Hallelujah, Beneve Bechinor. Hallelujah, B'tofu Makol. Hallelujah, B'mini Belgam. Hallelujah, 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 B'tzilzlei Shama. Hallelujah, B'tzilzlei Trua, Kol Hanshama Te'aliyah. Hallelujah, 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 hallelujah.
Please rise for our call to worship on page 108.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach.
Baruch Adonai HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed. HaMevorach, HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
Page 111. In the beginning, even then, a new light was sown for the rightness, a promise that your light would become the catalyst first for order, and then for hope, author of language and light. Help us to use words as you have, to cast light into dark waters and draw out justice and truth.
Baruch atah Adonai, Yotzer HaMeorot.
Page 113. Love your neighbor as yourself, you said. In light blinded we saw that inner and outer worlds are one, as you were one. We spoke and we wrote. We reached for you down the centuries, your light moving before us. As we climbed, fell back, and climbed again, your Sinai of life.
Baruch atah Adonai, habocher be'amo Yisrael be'ahava.
Shema Yisrael Adonai
Please be seated. Please join us in chanting the Ve'ahavta.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
We join together in Micha Mocha, our prayer of redemption, on page 122.
Yai lai lai, yai la 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 la, yai lai lai la 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 la, yai lai lai, yai la 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 la, yai la lai lai, yai la 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 la. Mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi chamocha nehedar b'kodesh, Torah tehilot oseh melech, Torah tehilot.
Zur Israel, Kuma Be'ezrat Israel, Ufideknu Mecha, Yehuda ve'Israel, Go'aleinu, Adonai Tzevaot Shemo, Kedosh Yisrael, Baruch atah Adonai, Ga'al Yisrael. Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi agit tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzchak, Elohei Yaakov,
Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor Vehanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, V'konei Hakol, V'zocher Chasdei Avot V'imahot, U'mevii Geula Livnei Bneihem, Leman Shemo Be'ahava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen, Baruch Atah Adonai, Magen Avraham, V'ezrat Sarah, Atah Gibor Le'olam Adonai, Mechayei Metim Atah, Rab Lehoshia, Mashiv HaRuach, U'morit HaGashem, Mechalkel Chayim Bechesed, Mechayei Hatim Berachamim Rabim, Somech Noflim Verofech Holim, Umatir Asurim, Umekayem Emunato Lishenei Afar. Mi chamocha bal gevurot umido melach, melech memit umechayeh umatzmiach Yeshua, v'neman ata chayot metim, Baruch atah Adonai mechayeh hametim. נקדש את שמך בעולם, כשם שמקדישים אותו בשמי מרום, ככתוב על יד נביאך, וקרא זה לזה ואמר, קדוש, 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 Adonai Tzevaot, Melech kol haaretz, kevodo. Adir, Adirenu, Adonai, Adonenu, Madir, Shimcha bechol haaretz. Baruch kevod Adonai mimkomo. Echadu Eloheinu, Uavinu, Umalkeinu, Umoshienu ve'u yashmienu, ברחמיו לעיני כל חי. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, ימלוך אדוני לעולם, אלוהיך ציון לדור ודור. הללויה. לדור ודור נגיד גודלך, ולנצח נצחים קדושתך נקדיש, ושבחך אלוהינו מפינו לא ימוש לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. Please join us at the top of page 132.
ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. מקדשי שבי שבת, כולם יספרו ויתנו מטובך. שבת ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. למעשה בראשית שבת. זכר למעשה בראשית שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת. ישמחו במלכותך, שומרי 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 שבת וקורא עונג שבת.
Page 135. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time, contain the retreat of hours and days, from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world this day. On this Shabbat, abide.
Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Page 137. Ever present, one, may we, your people Israel, be worthy in our deeds and our prayer. Wherever we live, wherever we seek you, in this land and Zion restored, in all lands, you are God whom we serve in reverence.
Baruch atah Adonai, she'otcha levadcha b'yirah na'avod.
We join together in our prayer for peace, Sim Shalom, on page 140.
שים שלום, טובה וברכה, חן ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך ברכנו יוצרנו כולנו כאחד באור פניך כי באור פניך נתת לנו אדוני אלוהינו שים שלום טובה וברכה חן וחסד ורחמים ורחמים עלינו ועל כל ישראל ועל כל ישראל עמך.
Please take a few moments of silence.
In the book of Exodus, we read that God says to Moses, "Go up the mountain to me, and there I will give you the stone tablets, the Torah, and the mitzvot that I have written, that you may teach them." And the rabbis of the Talmud take this to mean that God didn't just give Moses the tablets, the stone tablets of the Ten Commandments that we are so familiar with, but that God gave Moses the building blocks for what would become the entirety of Jewish knowledge and Jewish learning, including the written Torah, the Hebrew Bible, the Talmud, the Mishnah, the Midrash, and all of the knowledge and tradition that would come later, from how Rashi interprets the first words of Torah to how we light our Shabbat candles, to the importance of continuing Jewish tradition from generation to generation. Little could Moses have imagined spending 4 generations at Kehilat Beit Israel. But this also tells us that that passing down the Torah from generation to generation is of such importance. And each layer adds a new level of understanding. We read that Moses received the Torah at Sinai and transmitted it to Joshua. Joshua then transmitted it to the elders to the prophets to the community. And as you can imagine, each layer added another piece of understanding for their modern times. And as we begin our service for reading Torah, we continue that chain of transmission. As the Torah has gone through the generations, all the way from Moses at Mount Sinai to today, as we symbolically place the Torah in Simon's hands. I invite you to rise as you're able as we begin Seder Kriyat Torah. And we also will hear words as we pass the Torah. Symbolically, we will also hear words of blessing from Simon's family. And we'd like to call up Charlie and Ollie to help us open the ark. Ki mitzion tetzei Torah, ki mitzion tetzei Torah, udevar Adonai miYerushalayim, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Baruch Shenatan Torah, Torah, Le'amo Yisrael, B'kedushato.
Stay just as sweet as you are. We love you very much, and Mazel Tov.
You crushed. We're very, very, very happy. It's marvelous.
Simon, I welcome you into the adult community, and I know that you will continue to celebrate the Jewish holidays and Shabbat as you always have, and will teach the traditions of our family to your family. And I love you.
Simon, you've gone through a very strong part of your life at this point, but the biggest part of your life is coming yet. And I think you have the greatest possibilities of becoming a very strong man.
Simon, I'm very proud of you today. The fact that you're becoming a man within the Jewish community. I hope that you'll follow in the tradition of over 100 years of your family here in San Diego, from your great-great-grandparents, great-grandparents, grandparents, and your mother and father, to supporting the Jewish community and helping it to grow and thrive, not only here in San Diego, but throughout the world.
Congrats, Simon. It's wonderful to see how you are blooming into a beautiful man.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad, Echad Eloheinu, Gadol Adonai, Kadosh Shemo,
shema shemo yachdav lecha Adonai hagedula v'hagevura v'hatiferet v'hanetzach v'hahod ki kol bashamayim uvaret ki kol bashamayim uvaret lecha Adonai hamamlacha v'minaseh lechol lerosh Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishachavu le'akodsho Romemu Adonai Eloheinu ve'yishachavu le'akodsho Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romemu
You may be seated. Shabbat Shalom to everyone.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week, as we continue to roll our Torah scroll, we are entering into a new book, the book of Leviticus, as we call Vayikra, this Torah portion of which Simon is going to inspire us in his own words after our readings this morning. The essence of this portion is about sacrifice, and we're going to learn more from Simon, but I just share with you this idea. When the redactors of our Torah crafted the understandings that we were to sacrifice something that was physical, there was a visceral understanding of what that meant, what it means to be in relationship with one another and give up something that you hold, perhaps an animal that you raised since the yearling, perhaps something else that means so much to you when you don't have that much of material self as well. The act is visceral. Today we understand that it's prayer. And prayer is not so visceral. Prayer is inward, and actually I believe it takes a lot more intention and focus to be in prayerful moments than to offer something physical up. But the act is still the same. The actions of how we give of ourselves in this world are so unique and numerous, and we have all the capacity. And as I'll speak to Simon later, we know that he is growing and evolving into this young man that you see in front of you. As he shakes his head so confidently, right? And the ideas about what he stands for as he prepares to read and interpret Torah is truly what this moment is about. It's about the moments of how much sacrifice went into this time, how much energy, but it's beyond what this time, this moment, this milestone moment means that will transcend what is yet to be. And so we will read from our sacred Torah this morning, from the beginnings of Parshat Vayikra, and we have a number of aliyot, a number of honors from the Kassar family, and I delight in calling upon, for our first aliyah over the Torah, Julius and Penny Kassar.
No, it's all the grandparents.
All the grandparents, okay. And I call upon all of our grandparents this morning.
Yamdu Yehuda Zelik ben Avraham Yitzchak Bizlata Befege Yenta bat Yaakov Heti B'Shena Chaya bat Yerucham Vishul Pesha Beruvein Yitzchak ben Hershel V'Shulamit Behershel Halevi ben Chaim V'Chayalea Arishon.
It's over there. Oh.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם אשר בחר בנו מכל העמים ונתן לנו את תורתו ברוך אתה אדוני נותן התורה.
Amen.
Im hakohen hamashiach yecheta lashmatam vehikriv atato asher chata par ben bakar tamim ladonai lechatat vechevi et apar el petach oel moed lifnei Adonai Besamach et yado el rosh apar shachat et apar lifnei Adonai Velakav Yochen Chamashiach midam apar vechevi oto el
Ohel
moed.
Moed. Everybody.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher natan lanu Torah emet, v'chayei olam v'chalbeinu. Baruch atah Adonai, noten haTorah.
Amen. Yasher Kochachem to Carol and Ron, to Henry and Sophie, and to Julius and Penny on your Aliyah. May you continue to go from strength to strength. For our second Aliyah, I delight in calling upon Kate, John, and Ethan.
Yamdu Ruvena, Sarah Ruvena, Bat Hersha Levi V'Shena Chaya, V'Yakov ben Yudah Yitzchak V'Fegayenta, V'Adin Avraham ben Yaakov V'Sarah Ruvena, Hasheni.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Baruch Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
V'tzaval hakohen et etzba'o b'dam v'sa min hadam sheva pa'amim lifnei Adonai et b'nei rochel hakodesh v'natan hakohen min hadam al karnot misbach ketorat hasamim lifnei Adonai asher bo'el moed va'et kol dam apar yishbach el yesod misbach olah asher petach Ohel
Moed.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'toheinu. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Yasher Kochachem to all of you. And for our final blessing and reading of our Torah, I delight in calling upon our bar mitzvah, Simon Hanson Kassar.
Yamod Shimon Chaim ben Yaakov V'Sarah Ruvena, Bachur habar mitzvah.
Baruch atah Adonai Hamvarach.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed.
Baruch Adonai Hamvarach Leolam Va'ed. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar banu mikol ha'amim v'natan lanu et Torato. Baruch atah Adonai noten haTorah.
Amen.
Ve'et rochelev par chatat yarim mimenu et hachelev hamahaseh al hakerev ve'et rochelev asher al hakerev ve'et shtei haklayot ve'et hachelev asher aleichen asher al haklalim ve'et hayoteret al haklaved al haklayot yisirena. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher natan lanu Torah emet v'chayei olam natan b'tocheinu. Baruch atah Adonai, notein olam.
Amen.
And when we reach a new moment of joy and blessing in our tradition, we say the words of Shechianu. We invite you to join as we sing together.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה. ברוך אתה אדוני אלוהינו מלך העולם שהחיינו וקיימנו והגיענו לזמן הזה.
We continue holding and dressing our Torah. I invite you to please rise.
וזאת התורה אשר שם משה לפני בני ישראל על פי אדוני ביד משה. יאללה לי 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 לי
Please be seated. Every week we have the opportunity to read a Haftarah. This is the conclusion of the Torah service, and the Haftarah comes from the prophetic texts. Today, Simon will read to us from the prophet Isaiah, who speaks also of the sacrifice, but because sacrifices are no longer engaged in the same way that they were in the temple times, which Simon will teach about, Isaiah suggests that we use the sacrifice of our hearts.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bachar b'nvi'im tovim v'retzav v'divrichem and amorim b'emet. Baruch atah Adonai abacher b'torah u'Moshe avdo u'Yisrael amo u'v'nvi'echa emet b'tzedek. Kalomar Adonai Melech Yisrael Vegoalo Adonai Sabaoth Ani Rishon Avani Acharon Umi Baladai in Elohim Umi Chambona Yikra Vigidecha V'Yarchecha li misumi omulam biotiot v'asher tavona yagidu lamo al tifkadu lo tirachu halo ma'az hishmatecha v'gardati v'etzem midai heyesh ola mi baladai v'ensor balhadati Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam sor kachalamim sadiq kachahadarot halanaman hamiver v'osei hamibadir chayim shekol devarav emet v'tzedek al Torah v'havodah v'anvi'im v'yom hashabbat hazeh shenatatan lanu Adonai Eloheinu likdusha v'limnucha lechavod u'tifarat al hakol Adonai Eloheinu anachnu modim lech u'mirvachem otah yitbarach shemcha b'fakik olchai tamid le'olam v'ed Baruch atah Adonai Mekadesh HaShabbat.
Amen.
Continue returning the Torah to the ark as we join together singing Eitz Chaim Ki. Will you please rise?
Eitz Chaim Ki lemachazikim ba v'tomcheha meushar deracheha darchei noam v'chol netivoteha Shalom Hashivenu Adonai Elecha v'nashuva Chadesh yameinu kekedem.
May be seated.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My Torah portion is called Vayikel. This portion is about sacrifice. Sacrifice means to give up something in order to get something back in return. The people of Israel offered precious and important items up to God so they could get peace and good fortune in return. Moses told them to build a temple and bring their items to the temple. They brought gold, silver, copper, and other materials for clothing, ram skin, special oils for sweetness and spices, and finally they brought precious stones. The main point of this Torah portion is about sacrifice. God describes the laws of animal sacrifices. God explains the different sacrifices and distinguishes between sins committed by accident and sins committed on purpose. For many crimes, animal sacrifice is a way to gain forgiveness from God. To explain this atone means to ask for forgiveness and make amends. Some sins are done on purpose and are planned, such as stealing, cheating, and being dishonest. Other sins are done without knowing it. For example, if you accidentally cheat when not following directions. God instructs Moses on the 5 different kinds of sacrifices that were to be offered in the sanctuary. Each sacrifice was different depending on the sin. The olah, or burnt offering, was a voluntary sacrifice of the entire animal. It was burned on the altar. The mincha, or meal offering, was a sacrifice made of flour, oil, salt, and frankincense that was given to the priests. The zachash la'amin, or sacrifice of well-being, was a voluntary animal offering from one's herd. The chatat, or sin offering, was an obligatory sacrifice that was offered for sins committed by accident. The Hashem, or penalty offering, was an obligatory sacrifice of a ram that was required for the sin of property damage. In understanding my Torah portion, I realized that some sacrifices are worth one times and others are not. Example of a good sacrifice is when you study and you give up your time on doing something fun in order to learn and get good grades. A bad and very hard sacrifice is COVID-19. I had to sacrifice my soccer games and seeing my friends and family. Even though it was hard to give up so much, no one got sick in my family. It got me thinking, why do we sacrifice things, and what do we gain from them? Is it necessary to seek forgiveness from God and another human? You shall bring your offering of the cattle, the herd of the flock. Maimonides, a famous medieval scholar, notes these animals. Sacrifices remind us not to worship idols and to dedicate ourselves to Torah and God. I don't agree with Maimonides. I don't agree with sacrificing animals. I don't think they should be killed for a mistake we made. I don't think killing an animal is bringing us closer to God. I think we should change our behavior instead of killing animals. Only when we change our behavior do we learn not to do it again. The important thing to know about the Jewish people is that we no longer have animal sacrifices. That happened many centuries ago after the destruction of the temple. It was then that our sacrifices became what it is called avodah shebalev, the sacrifices of the heart. This means that our prayers and our actions in modern times substitute for the animal sacrifices of ancient times. And I am very glad that our religion doesn't kill animals anymore. From this Torah portion, I have learned how hard some sacrifices can be. COVID-19 has been hard, and we have all made lots of sacrifices. I have made little sacrifices, but there are people during COVID who have lost their lives, jobs, health, and even family members, and they had to make big sacrifices. Another group of people who had to sacrifice a lot during this time period are doctors, nurses, and so many other health workers, because they were putting themselves in danger to help people that needed it the most. All of my grandparents are healthy and are able to be at my bar mitzvah because they wore masks and were able to keep COVID away. I have learned that it is better to change your behavior instead of just asking for forgiveness. I have learned that we sacrifice in order to become better people. Our sacrifices are hard work, but the results are good. For my mitzvah project, I chose to support the Polinsky Children's Center. The Polinsky Center is open 24 hours a day. It provides emergency shelter for foster children that need to be taken care of. They care from kids birth to age 17. They take in 100 kids a month. The center provides mental health therapy as well as medical assistance if needed. The reason I chose this is because one of my soccer coaches named Josh fostered a child for over 2 years. The boy's name was Manny, and he could not be with his parents because his mom and dad would abuse him and his sisters. Josh took him into his house, and he would bring Manny to soccer practice, and I really got to know Manny because he would come to our house, and we would go on bike rides together. Manny was like any other kid. He wanted to have fun and make friends. Luckily, I got to become his friend. Getting to know Manny made me feel like I wanted to help other foster children. This Torah portion talks about giving up something in order to get something back in return. I have gave up my time in return. I got a good feeling that I helped people. It is harder to become bar mitzvah because I'm not able to celebrate and have a party with all my friends and family. Still, I want to take a moment to thank my parents for helping me get through all of this. Thank you for annoying me into practicing and forcing me to work on my Hebrew. I want to thank Cheryl, my Hebrew teacher, for helping me learn all the prayers and helping me be able to read all this Hebrew. Thank you, Rabbi, for helping me with my speech. I would also like to thank Rabbi Cantor for helping me prepare my bar mitzvah for me. Thank you, Grandma and Saba, for coming to my house when no one else could come. Thank you, Grandpa and Sophie, for having us over for Thanksgiving dinner and letting us have chop chop. Thank you, Zeta and Granny, for coming all the way from Cincinnati and staying with us. Thank you, Uncle Paul and Uncle Richard's families, for traveling for my special day. Thank you to my older brother, Ethan, for helping me with my mitzvah project and helping me with my National History Day project. Ollie and Charlie, there's nothing to say about you guys. Well, thank you for being the best little brothers because you were the only 2 little brothers I have. Shabbat Shalom, everyone.
Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yehelanu. Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Siman Tov, Mazel Tov, Mazel Tov, Siman Tov, Yehelanu.
So we learned something new today about throwing candy from 5 feet away. That actually has great impact. So Simon, I'm standing here because I want to see you. I want to be able to, so without masks or anything else. So I remember, because I'm newer to the community, I remember meeting you first time on screen, and you were itching to get off already. As quick as possible. Who's this new guy, this rabbi guy who I have to spend time with, and I got other things to do. But what we started to see and what I started to notice about you the subsequent times we met is that you're very true to yourself. I believe that what Mom and Dad characterized and said earlier about who you are, as I will continue to get to know you, is someone who is unique and is certainly one of a kind. Someone who is passionate about what he wants, passionate perhaps to get away from what he doesn't want, but also to know that as you continue to evolve, that you're learning about the things that are really important in life. I'm thinking about Polinsky's foster youth, and your work with Manny, and the continuation of trying to support that organization. I'm thinking about the sacrifices and the beautiful drash that you just gave about what it means to be in sacrifice. And I'm thinking about what it means when you gave up something, and Manny perhaps had no choice for what he sacrificed in life, that you also filled a void of something that he was missing. You filled a sense of camaraderie, a sense of connection, a sense of importance, of family, something that he never had the opportunity to have, and you provided that for him. That is so much more important in my eyes than the blessings and the Torah that you just recited. However important they are in our tradition, the act of showing someone dignity and respect and kindness, for me, is the essence of Torah. There is no greater gift that we can offer one another. When you stand next to someone who may not have the blessings that you have in life and be able to articulate and to say and show them kindness, that is what all of this is about. You're going to continue to grow and evolve. You're going to continue to love chess, may I say. You're going to continue to love surfing and football and soccer and all the things that I've spoken with you about. And that's great. And you should continue to feed your passions beautifully. It doesn't, in any way that you are a teammate on a soccer field, in any way that you figure out how to slow down when you're surfing and feel the wave and be patient in that moment, all of those pieces, no matter how your passions feed you in life, actually our Judaism talks about. And it talks about how to ride that wave of sacrifice, how to navigate it as you've done so beautifully in the midst of a pandemic, how your family has made it here from across the country and locally to be here with you today. All of those pieces are part of what we offer in life, to figure out how to step up in this world. So as you stand so proudly and have led us so beautifully on this day, may you always remember for what you stand for as a young man in our Jewish tradition. that you stand for kindness and empathy, that you stand for feeding your passions and believing in them, that you stand to disagree with famous commentators because you have your truth. And there is nothing wrong with that, as I told you. I want to hear your voice. We want to hear your voice. And you have shown it to us. We're all very proud of you, as you should be incredibly proud of yourself. And we think of you and offer much mazel on this day as you continue from strength to strength in this moment. We say l'chaim u'mazel tov on this incredible, beautiful, sacred journey. And I invite my colleagues to join as we offer you this special blessing that has been passed throughout the generations.
Simon, Yivarecha Adonai v'yishmerecha. May God always bless you and protect you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka. May God's face shine brightly upon you with radiance and grace.
Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom. Simon, may you be granted health and long life, the courage to fulfill your journey with much blessing and peace, as we say. Amen.
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 We begin to conclude our service. Actually, before we begin to conclude our service, there was an ancient ritual in the temple that after the priest would go through with the offering of the sacrifice, that the children needed to clean up the altar. And so if I could ask all of the children to please clean up our altar of sweets.
Forgot about that one.
I like that.
Thanks. Every once in a while.
Thank you.
If you keep it, you get to eat it.
And now that our pockets are filled with sweetness, we turn to page 282 and rise together for Aleinu L'Shabeach. Aleinu L'Shabeach L'Adon HaKol, L'Tet Gedula L'Yotzer Breshit, Shelo Asanu Kigoye Ha'aratzot, Velo samanu kemishpechot ha'adama, shelo sam chelkeinu kahem, vegor aleinu kechol hamonam, va'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech malchei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'ne'emar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom ha'u bayom ha'u Yeh Adonai echad, u'shemo, u'shemo, u'shemo echad. As we turn to the words of Kaddish, we are especially mindful of all of those who are surely with us spiritually at this moment. We're especially mindful of those in the Fox, Heimson, Kassar family. Zichronam livracha, may all of their memories be for a blessing. As we join together on page 294. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach v'yirtei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Israel, Ba'agala uvizman kari v'imru, Amen. Yehe shmei Rabba mevarach le'alam u'lamei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. v'yitadar, v'yitaleh, v'yitalal, shemei d'kudsha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'yimru. Amen. Shabbat Shalom. I invite you, as you are able in your pods, your family pods, to place your prayer books down, put your arms around each other as we join together in our closing song, Oseh Shalom. Oseh Shalom bimromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, imru, amen. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. Ya'aseh shalom, ya'aseh shalom, shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. We say Shabbat Shalom and Mazel Tov.
Mazel tov.
Mazel tov.
For all of you who are joining us virtually, we hope that you will drop your name in the chat so we have a virtual guest book. And also, please stay with us for just a few moments as we enjoy a montage of Simon's life. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. And those of you who are here, we're going to head over to that table and we're going to do Kiddush and Motzi. So come join us.
At the time of your life, another turning point, a fork stuck in the road. Time grabs you by the wrist, directs you where to go. So make the best of this test and don't ask why. It's not a question, but a lesson learned in time. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life. So take the photographs and still frames in your mind, hanging on a shelf in good health and good time. Tattoos and memories and dead skin on trial. For what it's worth, it was worth all the while. It's something unpredictable, but in the end is right. I hope you had the time of your life.